guess what's back? And this is why I always talked about it, because I knew eventually it was going to end up coming back. There's just the people that are behind it. There's way too much money for them to be made. They are overwhelmingly corrupt. And the state, you knew exactly they weren't going to let this go. So my favorite, I think, infrastructure package of all time, the California high-speed rail. And I talked about this back in November of 2013 because a judge, which was good, it stopped it for a little bit, but you knew it was not going to go away. A judge made the ruling that they had to stop moving forward with the high-speed rail because they didn't have a viable option to be able to fund it. They said they didn't have a viable business plan. Now, in other words, that was they'd already been funded the majority of the money that was supposed to be able to pay for the first leg, and they had already pissed through all of that money and never even started the project. Now, wait until you hear how they're going to fund it now. This is the best, and it proves every single thing that this website is about. Now, let me give you the background if you're not familiar with the high-speed rail. First of all, the high-speed rail is something that's not needed. We already have trains. It's going to make the train trip a little bit quicker. It's not really worth it when you take a look at what it's costing you. Now, the funding for the high-speed rail already, back in 2008, it was supposed to start, and it was going to take 8 years best-case scenario, 11 years worst-case scenario. So here we are now, 2014. What are we looking at, 2 years away from being done? Nope. Is it worst-case scenario then? 2020 will be done? Nope. Now they're thinking 2030, 2035 range. So it hasn't even begun yet, and now it's almost tripled the amount of time that's going to take. Now, the initial project was going to cost $33 billion with a B. Then, 2011, they said, well, we're wrong on that number. It's going to be $68.4 billion. Then in 2012, a year later, they said up a little bit more. It's going to cost $91.4 billion. And they have been funded already in 4 years. This is what I can't understand. And I couldn't even do it. If you came to me and you said, I need you to be corrupt, here's what we're going to do. We have a scam. We're going to build this high-speed rail. We're going to inflate the hell out of prices. And we're going to keep getting paid ridiculous amounts of money to develop this high-speed rail that there's no way it's necessary to cost this much. But here's what I need you to do. I need you for 4 years. We're not going to start construction. And I need you to spend $10 billion. Now, let me just kind of explain to you what that number is. You hear $10 billion. That means it's $2 billion, a little bit more than $2 billion a year. That means it comes to about $200 million a month. $200 million a month, which is $50 million a week, $10 million a day. That means $10 million every single business day you need to spend on this high-speed rail and not even start the thing, but you need to make it look legit. I couldn't even do it. I would back away. I'd say it's impossible. You can't do that, but that's what they did. They were funded $4.7 billion when it began in 2009. Then 2010, they were given $2.35 billion in the stimulus package. The following year, $1.2 billion was rejected by the other states in the stimulus package. Said they didn't want the money. So instead of not spending that money, then they gave it again to the stimulus package. And then the Department of Transportation the same year gave them another $2 billion. So they've been funded $10 billion, hasn't even begun yet. So eventually, in November of 2013, a judge said, enough is enough. You don't even have a viable business plan to be able to pay for it because the funding has been cut off. You can't sell bonds anymore because they're not legit. It hasn't even started yet. No one would validate the bonds. So they said that's it. And you knew that eventually they're going to come back and come up with an idea. And guess what they are now using to be able to fund this project? I mean, you can see it's needed so much, and they've done such a great job so far with the spending of the initial funds. Why wouldn't you keep it going? They are now going to fund it through California cap and trade. Now, I love all the people, too, that when I say cap and trade is nothing more than a tax, and everybody says this on the right. And I said this last week when Obama, he did a speech in the Rose Garden talking about the environmental regulations and everything that he's going to do to stop the carbon footprint. I said it's nothing more than cap and trade, and it's nothing more than a tax. Well, if cap and trade's not a tax, how is California now funding the high-speed rail through cap and trade? Because that's exactly what happened. They're going to use the funds from cap and trade to be able to fund the ongoing extortion of the California high-speed rail. Now, number two, and this is the other part that I always like to bring up, liberals have owned California for the last decade. They have. They could get anything passed and anything through and implement any left-wing policy that they want there. Now, how come they haven't pushed through the California cap and trade yet? However, when the funding got cut off for their big pet project, for all the big contracts, for all the big Democrats, the big Democrat donors, so Dianne Feinstein's husband's capital company that owns the construction company, so they can get $985 million to lay the track for the first leg of the high-speed rail, which, by the way, the first leg, it used to be 40 miles. Now it's 28 miles. So I assume he'll revise his bid. He'll probably knock like $1,000 off, I'm sure, from the initial $985 million that he's going to be paid. But it looks like now that the funding gets cut off, now they're ready to do cap and trade. So it really isn't about the environment, is it? When they need to find any way possible to be able to raise taxes, and they already did that in the rich last year, that didn't work. It's still not enough money. Now that their pet project, that California high-speed rail, is in jeopardy, now they're ready to implement California cap and trade. So doesn't this just show exactly what the scam is? I mean, doesn't it show this in a nutshell? Oh, let's get $10 billion for a high-speed rail. Where's the money go? We have no idea. Funny, a lot of contracts went to a lot of very connected people. A lot of inflated projects went to a lot of connected people. Now the money's cut off. What are we going to do? Let's enact cap and trade. Oh, I thought cap and trade wasn't a tax. That's odd. How are you going to be able to fund this project to keep going if it's not a tax? And three, they could have done this for the last 10 years, but now that their pet project's cut off, now they're ready to enact California cap and trade. Can't you see what this is? Every single government project has become this now. They don't even inflate things 20%, 30%, 40%. 7, 8, 9, 10 times what they really should cost. Incredible what's going on here. And the best part is, too, when this project ends, it's projected, if it ever ends. I'm 31 years old. I bet this project outlives me. I bet this project outlives me. And if it does ever, though, actually end, it's projected to lose between $250 and $400 million every year. And that's the initial projection. Remember, it seems like with this project, it keeps going up. What a great investment that is for the future. So the high-speed rail is back, and I'm going to give you updates. And there should be every move possible made to stop this. And not only if you don't live in California, because the whole bulk of the money is coming from federal. It's coming from the Department of Transportation. It's coming from the stimulus package. It's a scam. It's an absolute scam, and I'm going to have updates for you every week, and I hope that this project is finally shut down. And unbelievable the way that they're going to now fund it through California cap and trade. Oh, but that's not a tax. Oh, yeah, right.